Welcome to the English with Kirsty podcast from www.englishwithkirsty.com. Here I'll be sharing with you tips, information and other learning resources so that you can improve your business English. Hello everybody and welcome to episode 50 of the English with Kirsty podcast. So this time last year I hadn't even thought about doing a podcast. I had the idea in the middle of July and then the first episodes were out at the end of July. But yeah, it's good to think that within that year 50 episodes have been produced. And if you want to listen back to any of the other episodes, they are all on iTunes or Stitcher, or they're also on my website as well. There's a list of them on the website. So if you want to find out what happened in any of the other episodes, you can do that on the website. I also wanted to say that this week is a bit different because I wanted feedback from listeners. And this I wanted to celebrate somehow because 50 is a milestone. I thought, okay, how can we celebrate? And then I thought, with language learning, we often have success. And we don't think about it sometimes. We just move on to the next. Oh, I want to do this. I want to learn this. I want to be able to do this. And sometimes we don't think about what we've achieved. So I wanted this to be an opportunity to look back and think about what we've achieved as language learners, things that made us feel happy or proud. And I wanted to get some input from other people as well. So I've got 5 stories today, and they are stories of people who are learning languages. 4 of them are learning English, 1 is learning Russian. And I will explain, I'll read to you what the people wrote and how they felt, what made them feel happy or proud, and what their language learner success was. So the first one is Michael, and he's learning English, and he said, "There are a lot of little things. A long time ago, back in my school days, a language teacher once gave me the advice not to translate, just talk. It sounds hard and it takes quite a bit of effort, but it works. In that spirit, I didn't take a dictionary with me for my 2-week student exchange with our partner school near Milton Keynes in England, and I successfully winged it. About 10 years ago, in my first year working in the northeast of England, an American customer remarked that I didn't have an accent in my English. Thereafter, 10 years I still don't, though it's coloured now by quite a bit of Geordie when I'm relaxed. But for them it was close enough to take it for just another of the weird and wonderful English accents. Just 2 of my highlights." So yeah, that's great. I think it's an important piece of advice. You shouldn't always try to translate in your head when you want to speak to people in another language. And I think that's a mistake that we can make, but he didn't, and he went on his school exchange and winged it, and sounds like he had a good time. So that is really good when you think, oh, I can't do this, but then you go out there and you do it, and you can communicate with people. That is a really good feeling and a good experience. And the other thing, when people assume that you are, in his case, English, in my case, people have assumed that I'm German before, they were wrong, but it feels really nice if people say that you don't have an accent. That it feels like it's a big accomplishment because you work hard to try and eliminate your accent. Sometimes you can't completely because you're used to speaking your own native language and sometimes that creeps in. But if people think that you are a native speaker of the language that you're learning, then yeah, that's definitely something to feel proud of. So number 2 is Daniel, and he's also learning English, but he's learning French and Spanish, and he wants to learn Italian too. He says, "I'm 30 now. I struggled a lot in the past with different languages. I was always kind of shy and did not use the languages orally. I was always very focused on the theory and not the practical side of the language, which is the wonderful side. I've always compared my speaking with others, and I thought that others were much better at it than me. That was a real problem for me. But recently, I've found a new passion, podcasting in my target language, and that makes me really proud. I found a way to push my language skills to the next level, and I'm sure this method helps, and it's so much fun." So that's great. He's found a way to practice his language skills and do something that's fun, and that's a really important thing in terms of improving your language skills, because if you're having fun, you're more likely to be motivated and keep doing it. And something like podcasting is a way to connect with other people too. So that if people are responding and getting involved with the podcast, that will also help in terms of like building a community around this podcast, which is great. So yeah, I'm really pleased that Daniel's found something there that can help him to improve his English, but also that he really enjoys, because that's if people can do that, then it definitely helps them to move on and to feel good, because it's an achievement. Creating a podcast is an achievement, and creating one in another language is even more of an achievement. So that's really good. Number 3 is Eva, who's learning English. And she said, I felt it was worthwhile learning English when, for the first time, I was able to understand what was being said on an English-speaking radio station. Well, that was way back in the 80s. And I know that Eva's gone on to work with languages, and so she does a lot more than understanding the radio now, but that is a great feeling. I remember that feeling when I listened to things in German or Turkish, and when you can suddenly understand the conversations or what's being explained, it opens up a whole new world, because it's more information, it's another perspective on things. And so I can definitely understand why Eva felt good about that, because it's like a door opening and being able to go into places that you couldn't go before, because you can suddenly know that the words that you've learnt in your lessons, the vocabulary, that's useful to you, because it means that you can understand what's being said on the radio. So that's great. Number 4 is Connie, and this is the story about learning Russian. So Connie is learning English too, but she was also learning Russian. And she said, when I was learning Russian, I got the chance to stay with 2 families. The first time I was staying in Moscow, and I had private lessons. Apart from their son, who spoke a little English, nobody did. So it was a fall into the water for me, but I managed to discover how quickly you can speak a foreign language if you're forced to. So I felt very proud. After being so nervous when I did my first grocery shopping with my guest family, she gave me the money and stayed behind me as if she didn't know me. I was nervous at first, but then I was able to say what I needed, and I felt good after being understood so well by the lady behind the counter at the bakery. So yeah, that is those early conversations that you have with people and you can't use your native language, and you're put in a situation where you feel a bit vulnerable, you feel a bit nervous because you have to communicate or get something done in another language, and then how good it feels when the other person, maybe someone in a shop or a restaurant or somewhere, understands you and maybe asks questions and you answer them and you get what you want. You come out of there, you've achieved a task. It wasn't just a conversation like, hi, how are you? But it was actually getting a job done. So in Connie's case, going to the bakery and buying some food. And she did it. And I can relate to that too. It's a really nice feeling when you go in and you achieve something, even if it's just a small task like buying some food. When you're beginning to learn a language, that's a really good feeling, because the learning pays off. It's not just, oh, I did some exercises in my language course today. It's, yeah, I put that learning into practice and it helped me somehow in my real life. I got a job done. So that's another reason why you can feel happy or proud about learning a language. And the last one is Heike, and this is a story about English and about how how Heike used it last year. So she says, I never thought that I would learn English after I left school, but when I found my new love and we decided to go on holiday, I needed to improve, and better still to develop my English skills again. First, I tried to learn in a course at evening school, but in a course with 8 students, you don't really have a chance to speak a lot. The teacher advised me to go on a language trip. I decided to go to Edinburgh. I was in a course with only 3 students for 1 week. It was a great experience. After the trip, I wanted a new possibility to learn English in an effective way. Then I found Kirsty on the internet. She's been teaching me once a week for almost 3 years. With her help, I've learned to have proper conversations on our holidays, and I discovered that I can download books from the library in English. It's great fun to read them. But the best of all was this. After his service in the Navy, my boyfriend never forgot one place, the island of Bermuda. We were there on holiday in 2012. I liked it a lot too. We are both divers and there are nice spots to dive. We also got acquainted with a couple of members of a diving club. They were very friendly and helpful. Last year, my boyfriend asked me to marry him. We both loved the idea of getting married in Bermuda. With the help of our new friends from the diving club, the internet, and of course with Kirsty, who helped me a lot to learn the English language, we had a great wedding in Bermuda in September 2015. I am very grateful that I found Kirsty. She teaches in a very special way, is patient and encouraging, and she always has an exercise for you. So I thought that was lovely because as well as being useful for holidays, so she goes on holiday and can use her English there, this whole idea of having the wedding in English was really lovely, because if she hadn't had the confidence to use her English and speak English, then it would have been a lot harder in the wedding. So the wedding was in English. Their friends that were there were English speakers. And I just thought that was a lovely story, because it shows how these, learning a language can enable you to do things that you wouldn't have been able to do before. So I thought that was really lovely that as well as being able to speak English on holiday, then that the wedding was held in English, and they, all the information was in English, and she could enjoy it without having to worry about, oh, my English, she had much more confidence to go and enjoy this English wedding. So that was great. And of course, it was nice to hear some positive feedback about me as well. I wasn't expecting that when I asked for stories. That was an extra bonus. So these 5 stories, they're all different, but they all have the same thing in common, that sometimes it just feels really good when you're speaking another language and you get things done. People understand you. You can communicate with people, understand information. It all is a really good and positive feeling. So I wanted to leave this episode like that and share some experiences of other people, not my experiences, but other people who've all experienced the same thing. And I'm sure that you too have things that you can think about when you felt good or proud or happy about speaking another language. If you want to share them, then do go onto the show notes page and send me a comment there. This week is www.englishwithkirsty.com/podcast/episode 50. And also, if you want the monthly newsletter, it only comes out once a month, so you won't be sent loads of emails or anything. In there are articles, there's information about upcoming events, like the one next week. So if you're listening to this in June, on June the 30th, there is a live training in the Facebook group. So if you want to sign up for the group, then you can access the training as well. So any upcoming events at English with Kirsty, or news, or there's a list of the month's podcast episodes in case you missed any, with links. So if you want that, then you can also sign up for it on the show notes page, which is www.englishwithkirsty.com/podcast/episode 50. And I hope you enjoyed the stories. And if you want to share your story, you can do that on the show notes page. Have a good week and have fun learning English. I hope you enjoyed this episode of the English with Kirsty podcast. If you have any questions or comments, my email address is kirsty@englishwithkirsty.com, or you can go to www.englishwithkirsty.com/podcast, where you'll find information about the individual episodes.